Welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hi, this is Jessica with Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast, and I am absolutely thrilled to have back somebody who we interviewed a few months ago. Would you like to introduce yourself and once again, who you are with?
Absolutely. My name is Sarah High, and I'm the Partnerships Manager at bookshop.org.
Well, welcome back, Sarah. Bookshop.org, as we mentioned the last time we spoke, sort of just blew up as soon as the pandemic hit and became such a lifeline to independent bookstores. As a library, I think bookstores are also essential. I think, we fill similar spaces and different spaces, and I think that we can all exist happily together doing that.
I agree completely. Yeah, we're still pretty baffled by how exponential the growth was, but really excited to be able to offer this service for so many bookstores. We have almost 1,000 signed up with us who have pages with us on Bookshop. So
and again, I think that an organization like yours or a company like yours is well overdue. Instead of kind of centralizing just, everything has to be bought here, it networks. It's like a beautiful, I don't want to say spider web because, some people think of a spider web as a trap, although I also think a spider web can be art. That's just me.
Yes.
Let's just say it's a beautiful network, a beautiful tapestry
I love
of bookshops being sort of centralized in a way that they could exist independently, but also serve people in the online community.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I love the tapestry image. I think that's what we're going for in this interconnective sort of hive for bookstores and book lovers.
So since we last spoke, I had found out that you are about to launch endeavors in the UK.
Indeed, yes. Yeah, we are launching in the UK the first week of November, which is super, super exciting. We already have 100 bookstores in the UK signed up with Bookshop UK, and the team over there on Bookshop is just so incredibly talented and smart, and I am really excited that we will be launching over there soon.
I'm excited as well. I am a big fan of the UK. Scotland is, if I have to say, a favorite place in the UK, a favorite country in that area, especially Edinburgh and Inverness. And I wanted to kind of give out a quick shout out to one of my favorite bookshops in Scotland, which is Leakey's Bookshop at Inverness, which is lovely. And it has a really nice little cafe. And I had to remind myself when we ate there that chips are not chips, they're fries.
Right.
Over in the UK. Their chips are delicious and their books are divine. So,
absolutely. Oh, I love that.
Do you have any special bookshops in the UK that you visited that you would like to talk about?
Yes, love this question. My favorite one that I went in when I visited last, which was, oh my goodness, like 5 years ago, was John Sandeau Books in Chelsea. It was just so magical and welcoming, and the windows are amazing, and the bookseller was just so knowledgeable and sweet and not too intrusive and just let me browse for what seemed like hours. And I love John Sandeau. I don't know if they're signed up with Bookshop UK yet, but I hope they do. I love them.
Maybe they'll be listening to this and they'll say, we have to get in on that right now.
I hope so. Love that store. And I really, when this is all over, would love to go, back over to the UK and explore the bookshops who've signed up with us over there.
That sounds lovely. It's funny you say that because my husband and I had since the last time we were in the UK, I should say, had this vision of getting remarried someplace in Scotland, and
I love that.
and taking our kids for our 15th anniversary, which at that point they'd be 10. They're 5 now, so it kind of gives you an idea of where we are in that process. So hopefully within the next 5 years,
I think that is a great goal.
I think that's a great goal, right? So we can visit some of those bookshops as well, and especially Leakey's, which also has lovely windows.
That's
along
wonderful.
With delicious chips and divine books.
Beautiful. Love that.
So we are coming up on the holiday season.
Indeed. It's crazy how it feels like this year has been so long and yet has gone by so quickly, and we're almost in November.
Yeah, I was speaking with another author yesterday, and I mentioned to her that I keep referring to this as the year that never was, because it really feels that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's really well put.
So much has happened and nothing has happened. It's just this weird sensation of everything moving really fast while you're in one place.
That's exactly right.
But since the holiday season is upon us and we want to bring, joy to those who we love, even if it's from afar and we're not necessarily going to all be able to be together, to understand bookshop.org, you guys have some promos coming up and some new features.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. So we have some holiday promo opportunities that we'll be revealing as the holiday season unfolds, that will keep all of our followers and bookstores and patrons posted in our newsletters. But gift wrap will be available as soon as early November, just like the UK launch, which is really exciting. So you can offer a wrapped gift and a little note for whoever you want to send a book to, which I think is the best gift to give someone in this year that never ends. And so gift wrap will be available soon, and we will also have gift cards available soon. So those we're hoping will be up and ready around end of November, but again, just in time for the holidays. You will have them by Christmas and Hanukkah and all the good holidays in November, or December, excuse me. But yeah, so those are the things that are going to be rolling out. And, it's funny. I was going to ask you a question if you will entertain me, but
sure.
I have been trying year after year to get my family to be as avid readers as I am. So every year I inevitably give them at least one book. And of course, this year, since I'm working at Bookshop and we're up and running, I will be giving them books. But I'm wondering, do you come from a family of readers? Do you give your family books every year? I'm sure I have an inclination you do, but would love to hear.
A fabulous question. So it's crazy to me looking back at myself at an earlier point in my life. And I mean, like when I was much, much younger, to think that I would become a librarian, because I was a reluctant reader for a while. And it took getting the right book that kind of sparked my thirst for books for me to become a reader. But when I did, I would not stop reading, like ever.
I wonder what that book was. I know you'll probably fill me in, but
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. So yeah, it was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which it launched my love of fantasy. And nowadays there's so many children's fantasy books. I would pretty much say, like, I could talk to you forever about those middle grade fantasy, children's fantasy, YA fantasy. But those books definitely made me want to read more. That said, my parents are not big readers. However, my husband is a big reader, and therefore my children have never had a time when they have not been exposed to books. In library school, when you take your classes, they say to you that no matter how young you want to expose a child to books, because you'll get parents, if you're working in the children's department or just in general in libraries, you'll get parents who will say, like, oh well, she doesn't understand the page, like the words or like the pages, or like she wants to eat the book or whatever. And to that, as a librarian and as a reader and as a mother, I would say it doesn't really matter. Although, if your child is going to eat books, board books are great, because board books are not as they don't get ruined as much.
Right, they're meant to be eaten, aren't they?
They are meant to be eaten, and this is, like maybe if you're going to a library, you want to make sure that you're holding your board book far away from the child, so the child doesn't eat the library board book. Although, we have been known to take one or two for the team. Like it happens. This is what we're there for. You try books. Sometimes kids taste books, and what are you gonna do? But yeah, so it is important, and the child will model you. If the child sees you reading, you're the best role model for your child as a reader. My boys, I started putting books in front of them very, very early, and I even have pictures of them with board books in front of them. And there came a time where I bought like just these very soft books that when they were sitting up in their crib, I could put them safely in their crib while I was getting things ready, for them, like either breakfast or something, because I have twins, and it's very difficult to sort of be on the ball when you're supposed to be getting things ready for work and for your twins. So sometimes I would put these soft cover books, and of course they were sitting up at the time, so it was safe, in the crib while I was preparing everything. And when I would come back, they were sitting up with the book in their lap, turning the pages like they were reading the book.
Oh my goodness. I bet that was a magical moment for you.
It was a magical moment. And I am happy to say that my boys still want to take a book to bed with them. They're 5 years old now, and they want to take a book to bed with them. They want, to have, and that's like, as a librarian, that's been hazardous, because sometimes I'll borrow books from here and I'll get my own overdue fees. And really what it is that the boys have hidden the books in their bed someplace because they don't want to give them back, which is where bookshops come in. Because
that's so funny.
Those are the books you go to bookshop.org and you're like, okay,
we should buy this one.
We should buy this one. Yeah.
Oh, I love the image of your sweet little 5-year-old twins hiding books they don't want returned under their covers. That's so sweet.
Yeah, very recently, I had a book overdue, and I was like, boys, because it wasn't in the pile that we put our books back in when we're done reading them. It's like, boys, have you seen this book? And they both kind of look sheepish. And then one of my sons like, well, Mommy, I think it's in my bed. I'm like, okay, could you please bring it back?
Oh, how sweet. But isn't it true, Jessica, that at least I have a friend who works at BPL here in Brooklyn. Is it true that you don't accrue any late fees as a librarian?
If we lose a book.
Okay.
Yeah, which has happened. I will say, and I'm always, I'm pretty, I believe in what I do. So if I lose a book, I will certainly pay for the book that I lost. And if I've had a book out for a long time, and that's just me. I guess different libraries have different policies, but yeah, for the most part. But with that, we do try to be respectful, because we are aware that the books belong to the community, and we want them in the hands of the community as quickly as possible. And
yeah,
go buy the books if our child does not want to give them up or if we don't.
Completely. Yeah, I just thought that was such a fun fact that my friend Jess, who works at BPL, was like, yeah, no, I don't have late fees. I can just return it whenever I want. I was amazed.
Yeah, we we're pretty I think we're pretty I can't speak for all libraries, but I would say that that's pretty common, although I think that as librarians it makes us hyper vigilant to return our books on time. Maybe that's just me. So getting into the season where we're getting cozy, do you have a bookshop cafe that you would like to give a mention to, or maybe a few where you like to get a hot chocolate?
Oh, absolutely. So my favorite that first came to mind is Watchung Booksellers in Montclair, New Jersey, which is super close by actually. And my partner lives there, or his family's from there. So we go there whenever we can, and we go to Watchung, of course, because we're crazy book people. And they have this wonderful little cafe that's attached to their bookstore. And their bookstore is so small but mighty. They carry so many good titles. Their fiction section is amazing. I love their displays. And then right next door is this amazing little cafe. So I will, for hours, if possible, sit in that little cafe adjacent to Watchung Booksellers. It's amazing.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
What about you?
Oh man. Okay. So around here we have the Book Review, which has a pretty nice cafe. Huntington, New York is just a really nice little town on Long Island. It's one of those towns where you're there and you kind of wonder whether or not you're actually in New England. It's a very cute little town, and the cafe is great. They have really good food there as well. But all together, and I know I mentioned this one in my last chat with you, I would still have to say the Montague Book Mill in Montague, Massachusetts.
The one and only.
The one and only. And I feel like I don't know if I give too much lip service to it. And, of course, there's also Leakey's, as I mentioned, in Scotland. But if we're talking about in the States, I can't imagine anything better than sitting with a hot chocolate on a fall day, looking at the waterfall, and there being books and everything else all around you. So definitely Montague Book Mill. I'm going to mention you again.
Wow. I, again, want to visit even more than
so pretty.
When I heard the last time. One day we will be able to travel freely. But another mention I'd love to give is to Cafe Con Libros here in Crown Heights. They are an amazing Black-owned bookstore. Again, small but mighty, have so many wonderful titles and have the best coffee around. Even when I can't browse and pick up a book.
Before we close out, what are some of the books you're looking forward to going into the winter and holiday season?
Oh, such a good question. I am super excited for the new Brian Washington just pubbed, I think, earlier this week, Memorial, which I'm very excited to read. Of course, the Obama book's coming out. I don't think I'm going to do it just because it's too big, and I'll read the highlights similar to the debates, but I don't know if I can handle the entire work. But besides that, there is a new graphic novel of Sapiens, the nonfiction work, which I really, really want to get my hands on. So that, I don't know if it has pubbed yet or not, but
I'm looking that up right now, actually. Yes. That is not actually something that I knew was coming out soon. So that is really, really exciting.
Absolutely. And something that already came out, but I really want to get my hands on, is the Braiding Sweetgrass hardcover edition, which is the nonfiction work that's about Indigenous women and how they connect with the land and how they live off the land. And have not read it, and the hardcover edition is gorgeous, so would love that to be a Christmas gift. So if any of my loved ones are listening, you should get it for me.
Oh yeah, that's yeah, that sounds good. I'm trying, so stuff that I'm looking forward to. So some of this stuff is actually not coming out until February, unfortunately. This one I'll say is not coming out until February. There is a new book by Sarah Galey called The Echo Wife.
Haven't heard of this one.
Sarah Galey is a lot of fun. They are a science fiction author that likes to play around with the genre in different ways. Some of their previous books are Magic for Liars, which is such a good book, right?
I haven't read it, but you have to meet my librarian friend because you and her have a lot of crossover in taste.
Yeah.
I think, so.
Yeah, that book is like, it's almost like a sleuth mystery set in a magical high school, but it's not like, it's good because when we think about magical high schools, we're kind of programmed to think about Hogwarts. But this high school really feels like a high school where kids go to school. You know, there's.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really it's really just a very good work of contemporary fantasy, and it's a good mystery story, and it plays on the tropes of magical high school stories. So good, that's a good one. But The Echo Wife is about a woman named Evelyn who is a scientist and who is working in cloning. And cloning people to do certain tasks. So you can clone yourself to do something, and that's what you're doing. But her husband leaves her for basically her own technology, a clone of herself, and I guess somebody who's not going to be as edgy or to argue with him as much. So it's really good, and that's all I'm going to say about it because anything else is too much of a spoiler. But I got an ARC of it, and it's amazing.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I have it now bookmarked on my to-read list. So
there's also I was going to say The Ocean at the End of the Lane, but that's a Neil Gaiman book that was published years ago. So if you want to read that book, it's probably available at your library and bookshop.org.
Yes.
But no, it's called A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Mallerman, who wrote Bird Box.
Nice.
And it is this enchanting story that mixes horror with coming of age with a teenage love story. It is about two 17-year-olds who meet during a summer, and they go on a date taking a canoe out on a lake, and they discover a part of the lake that they did not know existed, and there is at the bottom of that lake, perfectly intact, a 2-story house.
Whoa. Is it underwater?
It is. It's
okay.
Completely submerged underwater.
Okay. I was thinking maybe there was a weird sort of enclave where there was a gap of air.
Yeah, no, it's completely submerged underwater. And when I first heard about the story, I thought maybe it was like a product of a drowned town, which is
right.
Something that has, especially up in the Catskills area, there are so many towns that were flooded to become reservoirs for the city. But it's not. It is a house completely intact at the bottom of the lake. And the two of them begin to explore this house, not telling anybody else about it, as they're falling in love with one another. And that's the best description I could say of it, because it's haunting, it's beautiful, it's a little scary, and it's unforgettable.
Oh, I love that. That sounds really good.
It was really, really good. And then another book I'm going to mention, which actually just came out, but it is a really good read. And now I can't remember if I mentioned this in our last recording or not. Did I mention Ring Shout by P.
You
Jones?
did,
I
and
did.
I really want to read it. I
So
really
good.
want to read it. Yeah.
Yeah, that book to me, as a fan of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and just reading just more stories about the African American experience in this country, and just loving sci-fi and just empowered young women in books. That one's got it all. So
I can't wait. I almost bought it at Greenlight here in Brooklyn the other day, but I picked up another Shirley Jackson work. I am on a Shirley Jackson kick this October.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I can't believe I hadn't read her before, and now I am reading everything I can get my hands on by her. So,
what's your favorite Shirley Jackson story?
Well, I have picked up The Lottery. I haven't read that one yet, but I'm reading a work of hers right now called Let Me Tell You, which is a lot of her lesser known stuff, a lot of works that have never been published that were sort of rejected from the New Yorker and stuff like that. So there are a lot of obscure stories in here, but I finished before this We've Always Lived in the Castle, and that was just stunning.
Man, wasn't it though?
Yeah, I was obsessed. I'm still obsessed.
Yeah, that is one of those books that just, I don't even know. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I kind of wonder why it isn't as iconic as The Lottery. I can kind of understand why, but
yeah, no, I was amazed that it was funny and of course dark and haunting, and has the sort of evil child, like the bad seed, the bad little kid sort of aspect to it, but it's also weirdly heartwarming at the end.
Yeah,
and gleeful and happy weirdly, but it is a really dark story. I loved it. It was wonderful.
Did you figure out the twist before it was revealed?
No, I did not.
Yeah, that was a pretty good knock to the head, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I was trying to put it together and I had my suspicions, but I wanted to keep it I wanted to let it be a surprise at the end, and it was.
Of course.
So yeah.
Also, The Once and Future Witches by Alex Harrow.
Oh, I've heard about this one. I have not gotten my hands on it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It is very much about witches as political figures. It's good for it's good for the Halloween season, although this episode probably would have aired by the time it's over. But it's good for in general. It mixes a witch story with a suffragette story, with a story of sisters and just women in general, and how they are defined and how their power is defined.
Oh, I love that.
It's very, very good. And it's about three sisters whose they lost their mother when their third sister was born, and their father was a bit abusive, so they kind of all parted early on in life, and they come together at this spot where a magical event happens, and it's possible that they're coming together because they caused the magical event. And it plays on, obviously, the Once and Future King, so it's got a little bit of an Avalon story in it, but it's got like social, some social justice in it. It's got some different stories about, gender identification and, LGBTQ characters peppered within it. I mean, it's a very good story, and it's got a ton of representation while playing with the familiar. So I loved it. It was good.
That sounds really good. Yeah.
It was awesome. So
good to hear.
Yeah. And that is by, so Alex E. Harrow also wrote The 10,000 Doors of January, which was pretty popular.
Awesome.
Well, I want to thank you for stopping by again.
My pleasure, Jessica. It's always so great to talk to you.
Hopefully, we can reconnect sometime later sometime in 2021, which will hopefully be much better than 2020.
We are hoping that.
We are hoping.
Yes.
Right? I mean, maybe at the very least, things will start to pick up again, and we can start making those travel plans to visit some of those indie bookshops.
Oh, please. Yes. Yes, but I would love to reconnect in a few months.
Definitely. And of course, if you ever want to preview a book before purchasing it, your public library is the perfect place to do that.
Absolutely.
And, get an idea of all the books you want to get for gifts. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
And visit bookshop.org if you want to buy those books.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you very much. So once again, this was Jessica with Syosset Libraries Turn the Page, and my guest was
Sarah High with bookshop.org.
And we are going to close this chapter.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.